Welcome to Cards Unboxed. Today I asked the question, is your magic ready for Halloween? We're fast approaching Halloween and hopefully this year we'll be able to get back to some Halloween house parties. It gives a perfect opportunity to show off some of that close-up magic. It's an ideal night to show off the strange and the unexplainable, but with a month to go, are you prepared? We're going to go through 10 different ideas that I would normally consider before Halloween. The first thing to look at is your choice of deck. Halloween's a really good excuse to get those black decks out, like the Black Ghost, Black Tigers or the Arcane decks. They stand out and they suit the theme of the night. To me, I think it's a good extra touch, but it isn't necessary if you don't have them. There's plenty you can still do with a standard pack of bikes. I tend to opt for the older Black Tigers, because the UV500 and the air cushion finish, as you can see at the top here, glow under Blacklight. The newer performance finish decks unfortunately don't. Bars and clubs usually dig out Blacklight for Halloween, but even if your house party you're going to doesn't have it, they're still going to stand out compared to a typical deck. They have a nice gothic feel, and there's also some good gaff decks available to complement them. Secondly, I think about the fire-based tricks that I usually do. I like to treat myself to some black and red flash paper. Audiences sometimes have seen normal flash paper, but have very rarely seen any other colours, but there's still a bit of mystique to it. Third, I stock up on reels and loops for animations. The haunted deck is an ideal trick for this time of year, and well executed levitations also have a ghostly feel to give people goosebumps. Fourth, I go back and look at some of the tricks I enjoy performing, and I try to think of a horror story or a creepy fairy tale style patter for them. For instance, the trick I'm showing you now is just a simple sandwich effect, but I tell a story of how a little boy named Jack was terrified of all the Halloween stories of witches that had come and steal and eat children, in this case the queens. So much so that when Halloween rolled round, he felt he had no choice but to run away. So he hid. He hid and he ran into a forest, into a deep dark cave, absolutely sure that he'd gone so far that the witches would never find him. But the witches are magic, and the witches could smell him. The witches surrounded him, and just like this, they snatched Jack up and they took him home, and then they ate him. If I've got time, I'll even change the queens into witches. Fifth, I'll extend my props depending on the audience I'm expecting. You can pick up cheap snake and spider props for appearances, or to appear under a selection to scare people. Sixth, I dig out my old ash pens. They're a favourite of mine, and just like the sandwich trick, you can come up with some really creative patterns to make the most of the reveal at the end. In this trick, I'll ask an audience member to select a card. The important thing here is both you and they need to know that you haven't seen that card. You're going to pass them that card, and then you're going to ask them to destroy it in front of you, while still hiding its identity. They will need to keep hold of it at the end though, to compare it to the reveal. Then I'd introduce the Joker and explain that the purpose, or at least one of the main purposes, is to replace cards that are lost or damaged. And usually people would write the missing value somewhere on that Joker so they could be used in a game. But here's where it gets creepy. Jokers can feel the loss of one of their own. And it knows that you've killed that card. And it knows which card you've murdered. And without needing to be written on it, the Joker's going to tell you exactly who the victim was. Seven is a creepy prediction, allowing you to embrace your inner psycho. If I am going to a house party, I'll tend to post in advance a prediction through the post to them. I'll address it to the host, but I put my name on it. I also add the instruction that they shouldn't open it until I request them to. Then, when I'm at the party, I ask them to bring me the envelope whilst I'm performing. I ask them to pick a card, and then I explain that the envelope contains a prediction. I then ask them to open the envelope, and I make sure that I don't open it so I'm not interfering. For Halloween, I'd add the patter that I've been following them, I've been watching them, and I know every move they're going to make, which is why I know what the prediction would be. Then it eases the tension and gets a laugh when it's wrong. And then with a lighter, or any other flame available, burning the ink, you reveal their card, and then that creepiness comes back. You can play around with the presentation. For instance, you could do a full creepy random word note, that might work, and obviously when you burn it all away you have a longer message. 8. Coming away from pick a card and reveal effects. There's no reason why you couldn't just show somebody something strange. There doesn't necessarily have to be a full routine behind it. I make a lot of my own gimmicks, and with a bit of creativity and DIY, you can make cards for all different kind of effects, such as this slasher effect. It's strange as a standalone moment, or it could be the end of a longer routine if you wanted it to be. A variation of the same gimmick can be used as a kind of voodoo doll effect, where instead of slicing the card, you can make it bleed by putting pins in it. In this case I used a black tiger deck, and instead of fake blood, I've used a UV ink. Although you don't need to do that, it looks perfectly fine with fake blood and on a standard playing card. The principle for this is pretty simple, as long as you can split a card. You just need to be able to split the front and the back. And then I fashioned my own blood packs out of fake blood and plastic bags, which I've used a little handheld heat sealer to seal the bags shut. Then I just stick them into the centre of the card and glue the whole thing back together. Depending on the handling and how much gore you want, you can do a big thick pack or you can do some nice thin ones. It obviously depends on how you're going to handle that card in the end. 9. UV ink. It's a great tool for Halloween. Again, lots of venues are likely to have UV or Blacklight anyway for Halloween, and if you're at a house party that doesn't have it, all you need to do is take a small UV torch with you. You can pick these up from Amazon for less than the price of a deck, so you'd always have that backup. UV works great for reveals, even for a hidden message as a reveal on other cards. Ten is a horror movie tie-in. I try to approach someone dressed as a horror character, compliment the costume, and then I'd ask them how many times they'd watched a Freddy Krueger film. I explained how Freddy was always my favourite because I liked how he could carve messages into people. I then asked the spectator to pick a card. I'd show them their selection, and then with a handy little colour change, I'd now show them their selection with a message carved in for them. The beauty of this trick is the message is genuinely carved into the card, and when you scratch the surface you can feel it. It makes for a genuinely creepy Halloween themed magic souvenir, one that they definitely show to their friends. This isn't one of my original creations. I've seen this trick taught somewhere. For the life of me I couldn't tell you where, and I would like to give credit to it. I think it was a Daniel Garcia and Wayne Houchin project. But what you're doing is taking advantage of the black ink on a black card and just scratching it away. Then I'll just colour it in red to give it that blood carved feel. And there you go, 10 different ways to boost your magic for Halloween. There's a month to go, plenty of time to get the practice in and to get those materials you need. Let me know in the comments how you'd tailor your magic for the occasion. I'd be really interested to hear the ideas.